السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. الحمد لله رب العالمين. توقفنا في هذا المكان حيث قال الشيخ: يتسابق العلم والخشوع فلا يدرى أيهما أسبق، وتبتدر المعاني إلى القلوب والكلمات وإلى الآذان فلا يدرى أيهما أسرع. هذا هو المكان الذي توقفنا، وقلنا أننا إن شاء الله سنبدأ اليوم من هذا المكان، فلذلك بدون ضيع الوقت إن شاء الله نواصل. قال الشيخ: وقد انقسم كثير من الناس على وقد اتفق كثير من الناس على التناوب. ما معنى التناوب? What's the meaning of تناوب? He says that اتفق actually means to be in agreement, to agree to something. So he's saying that كثير من الناس, several people agreed to التناوب. And what is تناوب? تناوب means rotation. تناوب means rotation. So several people have agreed to rotation or to alternate. How? That's what he's saying. فإذا غاب أحدهم عن مجلس الرسول الكريم, if one of them should be absent in the masjid of the noble prophet, حضر جاره أو أخوه, his neighbor or his brother will be present. So they make such an agreement. Let's say today I'm busy, so I will make sure that my brother or my neighbor, he will be present. I will go and make an agreement with him that at least as I am absent, he shouldn't also be absent. One of us should be present, so that whatever transpired, the other will tell the one who's present will tell the one who's absent. فيخبر الأول بما دار في المجلس. And so the أول بمعنى the one who is present, يخبر, he will inform the other one بما دار في المجلس, with whatever has transpired. Dara actually means what went round, meaning what transpired, what happened. في المسجد, في المجلس, in the majlis, in the gathering. من حديث, of hadith. وما نزل من آيات, and whatever has descended of ayats, of revelation, the verses. وهؤلاء هم القراء. And the Sheikh is now doing iltifat. He has turned to a group of people, meaning a group of people are somewhere sitting, and so the Sheikh is saying that هؤلاء هم القراء. These people, we can't see them, so he's pointing to some people and he's telling us they are the Qurra. Qurra actually is mubalaga, is mubalaga, which comes to mean يعني الذين يحسن القراءة, those who are very good in recitation, we call them Qurra. I hope that is clear. Qurra is a mubalaga pattern to mean they are very, very good in recitation. قد انقطعوا إلى العلم, they have cut themselves to knowledge, meaning they have secluded themselves to knowledge. انقطع, to cut themselves to only knowledge. That's just what they are bothered about, knowledge. فإذا جنهم الليل, so if layl, night, should cover them. Jannah actually means for something to cover another thing. Hope that is clear. Jannah, to cover something, to cover another thing. So we see that فإذا جنهم الليل, if night should cover them, انقطعوا إلى معلم لهم, they go to, or they cut themselves to a muallim, a teacher of theirs, في المدينة, in the city. فيدرسون الليل حتى يصبحوا, and so they study throughout the night, or they study the night, they study throughout the night, حتى يصبحوا, until it is daytime. أصبح يصبح actually mean دخل الصباح, دخل في الصباح, يعني إذا دخل شخص في الصباح هذا يسمى يصبح أو أصبح يصبح is for someone to enter into the day, for something to enter into day. Hope that is clear. In simplicity, for day to break, like the day break while he's still doing something. So that's what Sheikh is seeing here. Hatta yusbihu, until they enter into the day. They study like that throughout the night until it is daytime. فَإِذَا أَصْبَحُوا, and so when they enter upon the day, فَمَنْ كَانَتْ لَهُ قُوَّةٌ, whoever has strength, whoever is very strong or among them, إِسْتَعْزَبَ مِنَ الْمَاءِ, he drives pleasure, he drives sweetness from the water, meaning that is just his food. He just take water and that is it. وَأَصَابَ مِنَ الْحَطَبِ, and then he go and then he get some firewood. Meaning that's his work. He go get some firewood and then maybe go sell or other or something to earn a living. That's his work. So if whoever is very strong, meaning, and he's also somehow not rich, he just take water and then go and then find firewood and do his work. وَمَنْ كَانَتْ إِنْدَهُ سَعَةٌ, and whoever has sa'a bimana risk, sustenance, whoever is rich, how that is clear. اجتمعوا فاشتروا الشاة, they gather and then they buy sheep. So those who are rich, they also gather and then they buy sheep. وَأَصْلَحُوهَا, and then they will repair it, meaning they will prepare it. How that is clear. Aslaha means to prepare something, to put something in correct shape or in its correct form. So that's aslaha. You know, the sheep, when you slaughter, you don't just eat it like that. You have to prepare it, remove the skin and those things. So that's what he's saying. فَيُصْبِحُ ذَلِكَ مُعَلَّقًا بِحِجْرِ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ. And so this is an expression. فَيُصْبِحُ ذَلِكَ مُعَلَّقًا بِحِجْرِ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ, meaning it is left to the home of the Prophet for it to be prepared. That's what he's saying. It's an expression. It's not to be taken literally. Okay, يُصْبِحُ ذَلِكَ مُعَلَّقًا بِحِجْرِ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ. وَمَا مِنْ أَحَدٍ فِي الْمَدِينَةِ, and there isn't anyone in Medina إِلَّا وَيَعْرِفُ الْحَلَالَ وَالْحَرَامَ, except that he knows what is halal and what is haram. That is how serious how they used to attach seriousness to knowledge. As of now, in today's terminology, knowledge is only people who are students of knowledge or people who are mu'allim. You ask someone, what is this and this and this? You tell you, I don't know because I'm not a mu'allim, I'm not a sheikh. Go ask sheikh. But that's not so, especially the Quran. When it comes to knowledge of the Quran, this is something that is rahmatan lil alameen. It's a message to the whole universe, to every living creature. So as far as you are living, how do I say it? It's something that is needed. It's something that's a necessity. Quran is something is not for scholars or people, students of knowledge. SubhanAllah. But look at today, it's something that is there for everyone, every single person. At least the basic minimum is you need to have Quran in your life. You need to know Quran. May Allah guide us. So that's what Sheikh is saying. وَمِنْ أَحَدٍ فِي الْمَدِينَةِ, there wasn't anyone in Medina, those times, إِلَّا وَيَعْرِفُ الْحَلَالَ وَالْحَرَامِ, except that he knows what is haram, what is halal and what is haram. They were all students of knowledge, or scholars. وَمَا يَتَعَلَّقُ بِحَيَاتِهِ, and whatever is attached, or whatever has to do with his life, he knows it. وَحِرْفَتِهِ, and his profession. Hirfa actually means profession. And his profession, he knows. So if I'm doing any work, I'm doing this work, I'm doing that work, that time they used to know whatever of the work is haram or halal. They used to know. They'll make sure that they know. But look at today, we are ignorant like something. Sometimes we even do some works. There are some works that a Muslim is not supposed to be engaged in them, but we do it without even realizing. SubhanAllah. That just shows how, ghafla, our state of ghafla, our state of ignorance. وَشُغْلِهِ مِنَ الْأَحْكَامِ, and then وَشُغْلِهِ, and their work min al-ahkam, of rulings, Islamic rulings. They know Islamic rulings that cover, that has to do with their life, their hirfa, their profession, and then even their work. وَيَحْفَظُ مِنْ قُرْآنِ الْكَرِيمِ وَيَحْفَظُ مِنَ الْقُرْآنِ, and then they memorize of Quran مَا يَقُومُ بِهِ فِي صَلَاتِهِ, whatever they will use in their salat. ثُمَّ هُوَ مُسْتَمِرٌ فِي طَلَبِ الْعِلْمِ, and then they continue in the journey of seeking knowledge. They don't just memorize Quran and that's it. I can remember one time someone told me, we don't need to memorize Quran, or we don't need to really bother ourselves about learning much about the Quran, because I just memorize what is enough for me to pray, and that's it. The rest I don't care. Subhanallah. The Quran is a combination of ayahs together. And each ayah is like a nujum, it's like a star. When you are traveling in a very dark journey, and then there are stars, and even the moon that helps you, that gives you some glimmers of light to show you direction. Assuming the night is total darkness everywhere, and then there are stars up there that gives a little brightness, and then you can see small and be able to move through your journey. That is how the ayahs of the Quran are in this life. This life is like a total darkness, and the ayahs of the Quran, they are like stars that are up there in the skies, and then they just give you some light to travel through. If one of them is removed, the darkness, it will faint. The light will faint. It won't be that bright. So each ayah is as important as the other. You don't need to be a scholar to know to know what Allah is talking about in every ayah. It's a bare minimum. We Muslims, we have to understand that. We just need the Quran to be fundamental. Everyone who is a beginner has little knowledge about Islam, the Quran shouldn't be something that is little. There's no littleness about the Quran. If you say you are still trying, that is something else. But for you to give a justification that you just need some part of the Quran and that's all, it's not true. Subhanallah. So summa huwa mustamirun fi talab al-ilm, and then he continues in his path of knowledge. Yazdadu kulla yawmin fiqhan. They increase every day in understanding. Fiqh actually means al-fahm. If you look at the lugatan, the ta'rif al-fiqh, the definition of fiqh, lugatan in terms of Arabic language, al-fiqh actually means al-fahm, understanding. So yazdadu kulla yawmin fiqhan. They increase every day in understanding. Fil ahkam, in the ahkam, the Islamic rulers. Warusukhan fi deen, and then the grounding in the religion. Rusukh actually is used to describe something that is very firm, or that is clear. Like we have al-rasikhun fil ilm, meaning people who are very steadfast in knowledge. So rusukh, as I said, is a sifa, is an adjective used to describe something very firm. That is clear. Rusukhan fi deen. Every day moves, and then they learn more. They become very firm in the religion. That's what Sheikh is telling us. وحرص على العمل. And then hirsa is actually to desire, to have desire or eagerness to do something. That is clear. So they have eagerness, they have some desire to work. وشوقا إلى الآخرة. Bimana, not just any work, meaning working for good. Al-amal as-salihat. That's what he's telling us here. Not just any work. Doing righteous deeds. That's what he's telling us. وشوقا إلى الآخرة. And then shawq actually means longingness. Shawq is similar as hirsa, but shawq, as I said, is longingness, to long for something, to yearn for something. So ila al-akhirah, they are yearning for the hereafter. Wa rakbatan fi sawab, and then they have rakba, desire, strong desire, fi sawab, in good reward, recompensation. That they have this desire that Allah will recompense them for whatever good they used to do. وَعِلْمُهُمْ بِالْفَضَائِلِ أَكْثَرُ مِنْ عِلْمِهِمْ بِالْمَسَائِلِ. And the Sheikh is telling us that وَعِلْمُهُمْ بِالْفَضَائِلِ, their knowledge of virtues, their knowledge, how they used to understand the virtues of things, it were more مِنْ عِلْمِهِمْ بِالْمَسَائِلِ than their knowledge of issues. Their knowledge of issues, meaning they used to understand the virtues of things very well than the issues pertaining to them. In today's terminology, we are the direct opposite. Subhanallah. We are the direct opposite of them. In today's terminology, you see issues everywhere and there. Especially when things like Eid is coming. We see people who are coming. Alhamdulillah, sometimes these are for discussions for scholars to deliberate on it and then give us, we the followers, we take, benefit from their discussions. But we, just normal Muslims, we take it and then we make it into the deen. There are people who, their life, what they just think about Islam is arguments. When we were at the university, I used to have a friend like that. He was like that. Anytime an issue about Islam come up and you are discussing, his own is just argumentation. Subhanallah. And sometimes he just look at you and he think that you say something, but I never say something. Because Quran is not something for argument. Quran doesn't come for argument. What has he been able to change your life before you start thinking about argument? Sometimes we can have peaceful discussions about things that we disagree upon. But you talk about khimar, niqab, and these things, and then you turn it, you want to use it as an argument, and you think, well, that's just what you think Islam is. There's a higher goal. Certain parts of the ayahs will tell you the salat upon the Prophet, what salatul fat, all these kind of things. I mean, these sectarian issues, you turn it into the religion, and you forget the important part. This is something that Bani Israel they face, and so Allah warns us against such kind of things. I mean, diving into unnecessary issues such that we even forget the core of the religion. So that is what Sheikh is telling us here. The predecessors, they used not to have, these unnecessary issues. Sometimes we think who Zabiha, when the Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam and then Ismail alayhi salatu wasalam, you have a lot of arguments. It was not Ismail, it was this, who, what, and a lot. When it's Eid is on the 29th, the moon sighting, all these kind of things, and then we take it into the religion, forgetting the necessity, the reason why we are even doing Eid. There are people who have been slaughtering every year, but they don't even know why they are slaughtering. Whenever we put the knife on the throat of the animal to slaughter, we should think that this was Ibrahim alayhi salam, who was ready to sacrifice his child for Allah, and he was ready to do whatever Allah wanted him to do. But what have we done for Allah? What are we willing to sacrifice for Allah? That's what we should be thinking. We should be thinking about the core, the essence of the thing, but not just making small arguments, thinking about when it's Eid, the moon sighting, local sighting, or what. Then so there are some people that just what their religion has turned to. Anything about Islam, they start to argue. Subhanallah. So that's what Sheikh is saying. Ilmuhum bil fada'il aksaru min ilmihim bil masail. Their knowledge of virtues were more than their knowledge of issues. They just want to have, some unnecessary issues. Wabi usul ad-din, and then their understanding. Usul ad-din is actually the fundamentals of the religion. They used to understand the fundamentals of the religion, like I just said. Aksaru min ilmihim bil furu'ihi. It was more than their knowledge of furu', the secondary. Furu' is actually roots, like branches. When a tree is there and then the branches, they are called furu'. One is fara. So furu' actually means secondary. So their knowledge in the core of the religion were more higher than the secondary issues connecting to the religion. They were more grounded in knowledge. وَأَبَرُّ النَّاسُ قُلُوبًا, and then they were the righteous of people when it comes to their heart. Their heart were very pious. وَأَعْمَقُهُمْ إِلْمًا, and then the most deepest in terms of knowledge. أَعْمَق is actually ism tafdil from umkul bahr. Sometimes we say it means the depth of the sea. Umkul bahr, the depth, like the deeper part of it. So umkul shay bimana, the deepest part of it, the deepest part of that thing. So means deep. So a'maquhum, the most deep, like they were very deep in terms of knowledge. Their knowledge was not just surface knowledge. Wa aqalluhum taqallufan, and then they were aqalluhum, they were little when it comes to takalluf, forcing themselves to do things. There are some certain things they will not force themselves to do it. So وَإِذَا تَعَلَّمَ أَحَدٌ. So what Sheikh is saying here, there are some certain things they are tawqifiyya, they stop on it. This is how it is. They do it as Islam says. They don't try to move forward and then force themselves to do into bid'ah things and stuffs. That's what Sheikh is saying. وَإِذَا تَعَلَّمَ أَحَدٌ مِنْهُمْ شَيْئًا. If one of them should learn something min ad-din of their religion, asra ila ikhwatihi yu'allimuhum. He rushes to his, asra means to hasten. He hastened to his brothers, yu'allimuhum, teaching them, to teach them. So that was how they are. If they learn something, they go and teach it. They don't just learn and keep it. There are people who are libraries, mashallah. There are people who are libraries. There are some countries, if you go there are scholars all over. There are scholars all over. They learn a lot. And then they have libraries of books in their head. But they don't teach. They don't teach. Yes. So the servants, they were similar things. They used to, whenever they learn any small thing they learn, they go and then they teach. لأنهم سمعوا, because they heard. ألا فليبلغ الشاهد الغائب. They heard the Prophet saying, فليبلغ الشاهد الغائب. The shahid, the one who is present as a witness, the one who is witnessing. So if you are present and the Prophet is teaching something, you are a witness. So the Prophet is saying, the one who is witness, yuballigh, he should let him convey al-ghaib, to the one who is absent. فَرُبَ مُبَلَّغٍ, for perhaps the muballag is the one who has been informed. He was absent and a message has been relayed to him. There's difference between muballag and muballig. If the lam is having kesra, it will mean the one doing the relaying of the information. That's the one called the muballig. But the one who the information has been relayed to is called the muballag, with fatha on the lam. So faruba muballagin aw amin sami'in, perhaps the one who the information has been relayed to is is also ism tafdil, from wa'a ya'i, which means to understand something, okay, to be aware of something. So perhaps the one who the information has been relayed to may understand it more than the one who even heard it. That's what the Prophet is saying. وَسَمِعُوا نَبِيَّهُمْ, and then they heard their Nabi, their Prophet saying, يَقُولُ إِنَّمَا بُئِسْتُ مُعَلِّمًا, indeed I have only been sent as a teacher, as a mu'allim. وَسَمِعُوهُ يَقُولُ, and then they heard him saying, لَا حَسَدَ, there isn't jealousy, إِلَّا فِي اثْنَيْنِ, except in two cases. رَجُلٍ آتَاهُ اللَّهُ مَالًا, a man who Allah has granted money. فَصَلَّتَهُ عَلَى حَلَكَتِهِ, and then he spent it. He just, subjected, he just spent the money, عَلَى حَلَكَتِهِ, against his distraction. Meaning against his distraction, of course. Man is doomed to be distracted, to be destroyed, except the one who does good deeds. So he just spent the money in good causes, okay, to prevent him from being, from distraction, meaning entering into hellfire. So that's what the Prophet said. That's one case. وَرَجُلٍ آتَاهُ اللَّهُ الْحِكْمَةِ, and a man who Allah has granted wisdom, فَهُوَ يَقْضِي بِهَا, and then he judges by it, by means of it. وَيُعَلِّمُهَا, and then he teaches it. MashaAllah. وَهَكَذَا إِنْقَسَمَ الْمُسْلِمُونَ, and that was how the Muslims were divided. And Qasama actually means for something to be divided. في Medina, in Medina, in the city, بَيْنَ طَالِبٍ وَمُعَلِّمٍ, between students and teachers. So if you go to Medina, the Prophet's city, it was like that. People were categorized into students and teachers. فَإِمَّا طَالِبٌ, for either he is a student, وَإِمَّا مُعَلِّمٍ, or he is a teacher. If you see anyone, he is either a student or a teacher of knowledge, of Islamic knowledge. بَلْ كُلُّ وَاحِدٍ مِّنْهُمْ, rather, the fact of the matter is that they were all طالبٌ ومعلم في وقت واحد. They were all students and teachers at the same time. MashaAllah. Why? Because if anyone learns, he will go home and teach. At least if he doesn't teach anyone, his family is there, his wife, his children. When he gets to the house, he will teach them. So that was how Quran grew in the city of the Prophet, like that. There wasn't any house, if you go there, especially in the early days of the Madani period, if you go to any house in Medina, it was like the Quran was like fire that has been lit. Every household were reciting Quran. That was the developmental phase of the Quran in Medina, until the light spreaded throughout the city. There wasn't any house you enter and you will see Quran learning and teaching going on. Subhanallah. May Allah grant us the ability to return back to this beautiful sunnah of the Prophet, where you could go to every household and then you see something of the Quran. You either see a learning of Quran or recitation of Quran or teaching of Quran going on. What has overcome us? What has overtaken our lives? And we have left this beautiful sunnah of the Prophet. Subhanallah. بل كل واحد منهم طالب ويعلمون في وقت واحد يأخذ من مكان. He takes from one place, he takes knowledge from one place, ويدفع إلى مكان, and then he teaches it somewhere, he pushes it to somewhere, meaning he go and teaches it somewhere. هل عرف التاريخ مدرسة هل عرف التاريخ مدرسة? Has history known a madrasa? Has history known a madrasa? أوسع من هذه المدرسة النبوية, then which is bigger or which is wider than this madrasa of the Prophet? He's asking history. Have we seen in history any madrasa like that? Subhanallah. Than the madrasa of the Prophet? التي يقرأ فيها التاجر, the one in which the tajir, the trader, والفلاح والأجير والصناع والمحترف والمشغول والشاب الناضح والشيخ الثاني يتعلم فيها بجميع قواهم. سبحان الله. يقرأ فيها التاجر, the trader reading it, بمعنى he learns in it. والفلاح, and then the farmer, والأجير, and then the laborer, والصناع, and then the manufacturer, والمحترف أو محترف is the craftsman. Muhtarif, Herfa, if you can remember, we came across Herfa, which I said profession or craft, what you are skilled in. So Muhtarif is the one who has some skill in a particular field. The craft person in a particular field is called Muhtarif. So a professional or a craft person in a particular field is called the Muhtarif. Well, Mashghul, and then the one who is even busy was Shabun Nahid. And then the Shabun Nahid, the upcoming youth. Nahado actually means to rise, for something to rise up. So Nahid is the one who is rising, the upcoming youth. They all learn in it. It wasn't, a place for old people or scholars or whatever. Today is actually the youth who somehow, how do I say it, think the Quran is for some people, But the youthful age is the age where we rather have to have Quran in our life. Because if you look at the youth, if you think about youth, the perception people have about youth is that's the time for you to rejoice about life, to enjoy your life. That's the time for you to enjoy your life. So that's why if you look at Surah Al-Kahf, Allah says, "Innahum fityatun amanu bi rabbihim wa zidnahum huda." Why is Allah saying "Innahum fityatun"? Indeed, they were youth. Because youth today, they think about life it's about partying. But Allah says they were youth. They secluded themselves. Why? Amanu bi rabbihim. They were people who believed in Allah. But youth, as we think about youth as an age where you have to think about life. But these people, they were thinking about Allah while they were still youth. So Allah is, that's a very powerful example for us to copy. We youth, وَالشَّابُ النَّاهِض, and then the upcoming youth, they were all present to learn. وَالشَّيْخُ الْفَانِي, and then the sheikh, the old man, al-Fani, is actually the one who is dying out, aging out. Fani, for some, to describe something that is, how do I say, degrading, something that is running out. How does it? So this old man is almost dead, he is almost dying, and then he is also dead. The verb is fana, fana yafni, something to degrade as time goes on. So يَتَعَلَّمُونَ فِيهَا بِجَمِيعِ قُوَّاهُمْ, they learn in it with all their strength, فَالْأُذْنُ تَسْمَعُ, for the ears listen, وَالْعَيْنُ تُبْصِرُ, and then the ears, and then the eyes see, the eyes observe, وَالْقَلْبُ يَشْعُرُ, and then the heart يَشْعُرُ, it feels, it perceives, وَالْعَقْلُ يُفَكِّرُ, and then the mind thinks, وَالْجَوَارِحُ تعمل, and then the limbs work. Hope that is clear. عرفوا أحكام الاجتماع في الاجتماع, they learn or they know the rulings of ijtima, of meetings, in meetings. The rulings of meetings in meetings. The Prophet teach them adab. So here the Sheikh now he has tend to adab, to teach us some things that they learn. It was not just pure learning. It was not just learning about Islamic knowledge. There was also adab, mannerisms. Mannerisms is very important. Knowledge is actually divided into two. If you look at, we have said this before in one of our lessons, we have already made mention of this. Knowledge is divided into two: ilm and then mannerisms. Pure knowledge and then mannerisms. Mannerisms is also is like half of knowledge. You don't just have to. You shouldn't just be someone who have knowledge and you don't have any mannerisms. So the Prophet used to attach importance to that, and even the Quran. There are most parts of the Quran that talk about mannerism. Surah Al-Ahzab, Surah Al-Nur, and even some Surah Al-Hujurat and all these ones. They came to teach us mannerisms. So Arafu Ahkam al-Ijtima fil Ijtima. They learn the rulings of Ijtima, of meetings. Fil Ijtima, in meetings. So while they are in the meeting, the Prophet will teach them mannerisms of meetings, of being in a meeting. And so there they will capture it, because they are in it, field learning. وَأَحْكَامُ الْإِخْتِلَاطِ, And then the rulings of mixing. Ikhtilat actually means to mix. Ikhtalata means, the verb is ikhtalata, which means to mix something with another thing. So ikhtilat is mixing. You know, they are people of different race, people, different tribes, different cultures, but they are together learning. So the Prophet will teach them the mannerisms when they are in such conditions. So ahkamul ikhtilat for ikhtilat, in the rulings of mixing in a mixing environment. Wa ahkamu tijara, and in the rulings of tijara, of trade, في التجارة in business. وأحكام المعاشرة في المعاشرة, and then the rulings of mu'ashara, coexistence. Mu'ashara is actually to live with one another. Okay, mu'ashara. So the rulings of coexistence or relations, interrelations. In interrelations, like how to interrelate with one another. فَاسْتَطَاعُوا أَنْ يُحَافِظُوا عَلَى دِينِهِمْ, and so they are able to preserve their religion. وَنِيَّاتِهِمْ وَنِيَّاتَهُمْ, and then their niyyah, their intentions. وَخُشُوئِهِمْ, and then their khushu, their submissiveness. وَذِكْرِهِمْ, and then their remembrance of Allah. فِي مَجَامِعَ, in gatherings. وَالْمَجَالِسِ, and even sitting circles of knowledge. وَفِي صَحَبِ الْأَسْوَاقِ, and in the noisy, or in the noise of the market. Sahab actually means confused noise that doesn't have any information coming out from it. You can't get any information from it. We call it sahab. So you go to the market, you see such kind of things. You see a lot of confused sounds, noise. So even in those environments, they are able to preserve their religion. They know what is wrong and what is right, what they should do and what they shouldn't do. And then the trials, the difficulties of the house, they are able to manage all this. فَإِذَا حَاضُوا فِي الْحَيَاةِ, so if they should enter into hayat, into the life. Hada actually means to enter into something. So if I say khudna al-mawdu, we have entered into the lesson like that. Khudna al-mawdu, hada, to enter into something. Yahudu, he's entering. So فَإِذَا hadu fil hayat, if they should enter into life, the manner, if they should learn and then they are out into life, that like they are out of the learning center, they are the madrasa of the Prophet, and they are out into the environment or into the community. Lam yughlabu ala amrihim, they are not going to be defeated in their matter. Meaning there is nothing that can defeat them. There's no anything, like they affirm, they have learned about life such that there's nothing that can defeat them. They are able to manage every part of their life very well. شأن الذي يتعلم السباحة في بحر المتلاطم, their matter is like, here there is, the sheikh has removed something. شأن الذي, it means the matter of the one. يتعلم السباحة, who learns swimming في بحر متلاطم, in a bahr, in a sea that is clashing, whose mutalatimin actually means, you know, when the waves are clashing one another, that's mutalatimin. Meaning the sea is moving, is a very, I mean, how do I say it, aggressive sea. The sea, the water waves are crashing here and there. To clash with one another is what we term as talatoma, to clash with one another. So mutalatimin, bahri mutalatimin, meaning a sea whose waves are clashing one another. Meaning it's in a very, I mean, harsh environment. They are able to learn swimming in it. So such kind of person, if he's now in a water that is slow, he will be able to do it very well. So that's what the Sheikh is telling us. Meaning their matter is like Sha'nul Lazi, like the matter of the one who has learned swimming in a very, how do I say it, aggressive sea. Okay, the sea waves are clashing with one another. Wafi Nahr al-Fayyad, and in a river that is Fayyad, that is overflowing. Okay, so such in a river, if someone should learn swimming in an overflowing river, meaning he will be a legend if he's in a river that is normal. I hope that is clear. So that's what he's saying. فَكَانُوا فِي الْمَسْجِدِ إِذَا حَرَجُوا فِي الْمَسْجِدِ MashaAllah. They were in the masjid if they should leave the masjid. Meaning their life outside the masjid were like as if they were still in the masjid. You know, this is psychology that has, engulfed some kind of phase. There's some phase. You know, some religions, they just think that they are practicing their religion is only in the churches or whatever, or in their castles or wherever. As far as they are outside there, their life is totally different. That's what they believe is part of their religion. You should only do what is right in the church, and when you are outside the church, that's it. You can do whatever you want. Allah is only in the church, or the God is only in the church. And unfortunately, we Muslims, some of us, we try to have such behaviors that claim into our life. We only think that Allah is only in the masjid. Outside the masjid, Allah is not there. We do whatever we want. We cheat in business. We lie in our dealings. We promise and fail our promises. And we do all sorts of such kind of things. As if Allah is only in the masjid. It's only in the masjid that we should do what is right. Subhanallah. But Sheikh is telling us here, فَكَانُوا فِي الْمَسْجِدِ إِذَا خَرَجُوا مِنَ الْمَسْجِدِ. They were still in the masjid, outside the masjid, when they leave the masjid. وَفِي الصَّلَاةِ إِذَا انْصَرَفُوا مِنَ الصَّلَاةِ. And in the salat, in the prayer, إِذَا انْصَرَفُوا, they should turn away from the salat. بَرَرَةَ الْقُلُوبِ. Pious hearts. Their hearts were pious. صَادِقِ الْوَعْدِ. They were truthful in their promises. Wa'ada actually means to promise. Okay. So they were truthful in their promises. They say this, if they promise, they will do it. Sadid al-Qawl, their statements were straight on the point. They used not to beat about the bush or lie. No. Sadid al-Qawl, their statements were straight, direct. Whatever they say is true. Fil masajid, in the masjid, wal aswaq ma'an, and even in the market together. Whether it's in the masjid or in the marketplace, their business centers, they used to, whatever they see is true. They used to see what is, on point. وَفِي الْمُعْتَكَفِ وَالْحَانُوتِ مَعًا. And in the mu'takaf actually means a place of seclusion. I'takafa means to, i'tikaf, to seclude yourself in a particular place for something. So that's i'takaf. I hope that is clear. So mu'takaf is actually the place of seclusion. Well, hanut, and then the hanut is it's like the dukan, shops, and whether in seclusion or they are in shops, all together, their life is the same. Wafi hadar was safar, and when they are at home, when they are present at home, was safar, or when they are even traveling or in the journey, all together their life is the same. They don't pretend to be good here, and then when they are outside, they are not good. No, it wasn't like that. وَمَعَ الصَّدِيقِ وَالْعَدُوُّ مَعًا. And with their friends, and same as their enemy, they used to be truthful to their friends as well as their enemy, or they used to act the same. Their life is the same. It doesn't change. No, they don't tend to pretend. It's like a munafiq. A munafiq is the one whose life is somehow he pretend here. He's like this at this point, but another place his life is different there. Hatta iza nada munadil jihad, until the caller of jihad calls out. انفروا خفافا وثقالا وجاهدوا بأموالكم وأنفسكم في سبيل الله. انفروا خفافا, move lightly, وثقالا, or heavily, وجاهدوا بأموالكم, and strive with your monies, with your wealth, وأنفسكم, and yourselves, في سبيل الله, in the path of Allah. وحتف حاتف الجنة. And then the hatif, the caller of Jannah, calls out. Hatif actually means, hatafa is to call out. So from it we have the hatif, the phone, the mobile phone. Of course, it's used to call out. You want to call your friend and call him out, you call out to him. So, hatiful Jannah, the caller of Jannah. So one of the Sahabis will just come and stand and call out. وَسَارِعُوا إِلَى مَغْفِرَةٍ مِّن رَبِّكُمْ وَجَنَّةٍ أَرْضُهَا السَّمَاوَاتُ وَالْأَرْضُ. وَسَارِعُوا إِلَى مَغْفِرَةٍ مِّن رَبِّكُمْ, and hasten ila maghfiratin min rabbikum, to forgiveness, especially from your Lord. Wa jannatin, and a jannah, a garden, arduha samawati wal ard, its width is the heavens and the earth. Aqfala tajiru dukanahu. When they hear this, when a Sahaba just call out like this, aqfala tajiru dukanahu. The tajir is the trader. The trader closes, he lock. Akfala means to lock. So kufl is a lock. The padlock is called kufl. So akfala is the verb, which means to lock. He locks his dukan, his shop. وَتَرَكَ الْفَلَّاحُ سِكَّتَهُ. And then the fallah, the farmer, he leaves his sikka, the plowshare that he's using to farm. He leaves it. وَرَمَى الصَّنَّاعُ آلَاتِهِ. And then the sanna', the manufacturer, he throws away his tool. وَتَرَكَ الْأَجِيرُ رِشَاءَ دَلْوِهِ. And then the ajir, the laborer, he leaves the risha, the rope of his bucket. You know, the labourer in the time of the Prophet, it used to be there. They used to pull out water from the well, and then they will be paid for that. So someone who is very strong, he can go to the well of a rich man. That time, today we have machines that can pull out water from a well for us. That time they used not to have that. And so it was a labourer work. They will hire someone to come and be pulling out water from the well for them, you know, to fill their cans and things, so that he will pay them, he will pay the person. So that's what they used to do. So that's what he said. وَتَرَكَ الْأَجِيرُ رَاشِدَالْقِرَاءَ. Rasha is actually rope. Rasha'un is rope. Dalu is bucket. So the rope of the bucket that they are using to pull it, he will leave it when he hear this call. وَخَرَجُوا فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. And then they will go out on the path of Allah. لَا يَلْوُونَ عَلَى شَيْءٍ. They do not tend to anything. That is clear. They do not tend to anything. They are not distorted. There is nothing that distract them. كَأَنَّهُمْ كَانُوا مِنْ ذَلِكَ عَلَى مِعَادٍ. As if they were in this, they had an appointed time. Mi'ad is an appointed time with it. As if they were aware of it. You know, it just came out of nowhere. Someone just come and call. You know, come, the Prophet needs people to go on the path of Allah. Then they throw whatever they were doing, they leave whatever they were doing, and then they go to the path of Allah. And when they are in it, they don't even remember what they were doing. They do not turn to anything again. They remain devoted to it, as if they were already aware that this is coming, and then they prepare for it. No, you know. وَفِي دِيَارِهِمْ وَأَهْلِهِمْ عَلَى مُسَامَحَةٍ وَرُخْصَةٍ. And in their homes, وَأَهْلِهِمْ, and then their families, عَلَى مُسَامَحَةٍ, they are going to, musamaha means pardon. So they will seek permission from them to pardon them to go on the path of Allah. Of course, they will inform their families, and then they will ask permission from their wives, and then their siblings and other things, that they are going on the path of Allah. وَرُخْصَةٌ, and then license. Rukhsa is actually like permission, also like permission, like allowance for them to allow them. It's like, actually, rukhsa means license. And we have rukhsatul qiyada, which means driving license. If you have the driving license, it's called rukhsatul qiyada. So rukhsa actually means license, like you have been allowed to do something. So they will allow them to go out on the path of Allah. وَتَرَوْنَهُمْ يَتَجَوَّلُونَ فِي الْبِلَادِ. SubhanAllah. And then you see them, يَتَجَوَّلُونَ, they go around. They move a lot. Tajawwala, it means to go to move a lot, like to go a lot. You don't just move casually from one place to another. No, you go and then you go another place, you move a lot. It's called tajawwul. That's jawla. Tarawnahum yatajawwaluna fil bilad wa yasihuna fil ard, and then they are moving in the earth. كأنهم خلقوا على ظهور الخيل, as if they were created on the backs of horses. Subhanallah. That's how they were. They used to just to ride horses here and there. Serving the cause of Islam, doing Islamic works. That's what Sheikh is telling us, specifically, not just anything, doing Islamic work. He's carrying out Islamic activities, be it da'wah, okay, going around conveying Islamic knowledge, whatever. That was just their work. So if you look at the Tariq, describe them like that. Okay, Rubbana min Nahar, you know. They were just riding horses in the daytime, and when it is night time, they go and then they return back to Allah, and then they were praying at night. You know, as if they were created on the backs of horses. And then they were like they were given birth to on the backs of evil of the camel. Mutun is the plural of matan, which also means back. The back of the skull, actually the core of something, but here it means the back of the evil of the camel. So some are riding horses and some are riding evil. So some are riding camels, and they were just fixed on it, as if they were created on it. Ya'uduna gadwatan aw rawhatan. Ya'uduna, they go gadwatan, early morning, aw rawhatan, or they come back. Rawha is actually Ba'da zawal shams, after the sun has set. So returning at that time is called rawha. All that is clear. They go early morning and then they return after sunset. Fi sabilillah, in the path of Allah. Then the Sheikh says that afdala min ad-dunya wa ma fiha, which is better, going out. I think this comes in the hadith literature. Going out for that on the path of Allah, you know, within such timings, أفضل من الدنيا وما فيها is better than the world and whatever it contains. يصلون النهار بالليل. يصلون النهار بالليل. They connect the day with the night, meaning they as if there's no separation. They're just active in the daytime and then throughout the night it's a similar thing. They just connect it. What they were doing in the daytime, they even do it at night. As if there's no even rest. They just connect it all together. There's no break. They don't separate. A jihad can come at night. They will just get up and then they do it. They don't care. Subhanallah. They were people who, they were ready to listen to the Prophet no matter what is the timing. Was shita bisayf, and the shita, the summer with the winter, they connect it. وهم أينما رحلوا ونزلوا, and wherever أينما, بمعنى wherever, وهم أينما, and they wherever رحلوا, they are traveling, ونزلوا, and then they descend for some time. نزل في الرحلة, when you descend in a travel, it means you pause there for some time. I hope that's clear. So wherever they were traveling to, and then they pause somewhere, madarisa sayyaratin, they were it was as if they were a moving school. I hope that is clear. Madarisa sayyaratin. It was madaris that is moving. When the Sahabas, they are traveling around, it was like madrasas that were moving around. Wa masajida mutanakkilatan, and masajid, mosques or masjids, mutanakkila, that is being moved or that is transferred. They go around teach people. It's like madrasas that are moving, madrasas that go around teach people, and then the masajid establish prayers wherever they settle. وَهَكَذَا نَشَرُ الدِّينِ, and that is how they spread the religion, min aqsal ard, from the farthest end of the earth, ila aqsaha, to the farthest end. Subhanallah. وَمِن شَرْكِهَا إِلَى غَرْبِهَا, and from the sharq, the eastern part of it, the eastern part of the earth, ila garbiha, to the western part of the world. These Sahabas, that is how Islam, they were able to spread Islam by just moving around, teaching and establishment of Salat. And so this brings us to the end of this particular beautiful lesson. Sheikh says that risalati, this is he's putting where he get this some of this information from. So he's saying that ila mumassil al-bilad al-islami lil-mu'allif. I hope that is clear. He's given the reference of this material in mumassil al-bilad al-islami. If you search this, you'll be able to get this information from it. I hope that is clear. So inshallah, we'll pause here. The lesson is quite long. It's the first lesson, but it's very long, as you have seen. But alhamdulillah, we will be able to get to the bottom of it. If anything is not clear, please try to contact us. You can use the email that we have, our common email. جزاكم الله خيرا. Inshallah, we'll continue in the next lesson. بارك الله لي ولكم في القرآن الحكيم ونفعني وإياكم من آياته والذكر الحكيم.